Video game movies often get a bad rap, for very good reasons. Sure, we have a few decent ones like Detective Pikachu, but we've also gotten dozens like Need for Speed or Doom Annihilation. Yet one of the best video game films is actually based on a board game, and a fictional one at that. Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle may be the best video game movie. But before we understand why Jumanji 2 works so well, we need to understand why video game movies often fail. The video game movie curse came into existence mostly due to the fact that most video game adaptations are actually embarrassed by their own concepts. Movies like Super Mario Bros. Were nothing like their gaming counterparts. The film director insisted that the movie wasn't for kids, and instead placed it in a world of leather-wearing turtles, dark New York streets, and a disgruntled Bob Hoskins. You know, everything you think of when you think Mario. Hollywood just seems to think video game stories won't translate. To be fair, until the past few years, video games were light on story. Doom programmer John Carmack once said, "Story in a game is like a story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important." While games like God of War and The Last of Us elevated the whole medium, most movies are based on games that came out decades ago. They often don't have much of a story beyond move left to defeat villain. However, unless you're an avant-garde indie film, most movies rely heavily on their story, meaning game adaptations don't have much to lean on, which is why we don't have high hopes for the Sonic movie, even if the redesign did make him less freakishly horrifying. So, most video game movies try to force a plot onto a game, and just place as many references to the games in as possible. It's also why you see movies like Street Fighter, which took the game's characters and slapped a generic action story on it. There's not even an actual street fight in the entire movie. However, even when a game does have a great story, a movie still has a big hill to climb. Most games can take anywhere from 6 to 20 hours to finish the story, unless you're The Witcher 3, in which case you're never finishing that game. Games can use all that time to really delve into their characters and create complex lore behind their narrative. Movies, however, have only 2 hours to tell you a complete tale. The Assassin's Creed movie exemplifies this problem. The story for the game and movie takes place in 2 timelines, a present day and a past story that both intertwine with each other. Yet while the Assassin's Creed games can take their time exploring each, the movie had to develop 2 entirely different stories in 2 hours. At least that meant we got double the Michael Fassbender. These intertwining stories ended up taking so much time that the movie actually forgot to have a 3rd act. Fassbender just shows up at the end and casually kills the bad guy. So why did Jumanji 2 succeed where so many others failed? Besides casting Karen Gillan, that is, because she is amazing. Jumanji 2 works because it doesn't replicate a game's story, but instead tries to create what it feels like to be in a video game. The film constantly makes fun of generically written bad guys or endless amounts of needless fight scenes. The movie is not only joking about games, but video game movies themselves. It instead uses its runtime to not focus on a generic game plot, but gives us deep characters who grow just like gamers do while playing video games. Games give us a sense of empowerment, which in turn allows us new experiences. Similarly, the characters in Jumanji are placed into a virtual world and are allowed to be empowered to have a different experience from the real world. You can be The Rock, or a kick-butt Karen Gillan, or Jack Black. All of the characters' arcs were tied to their video game experience. The Rock's character learned how to feel tough without being mean, while Karen Gillan learned to have confidence in herself. This is exactly the kind of feeling that games themselves offer us. Jumanji works because it doesn't try to recreate a game story in 2 hours, but instead recreates a sense of how games make us feel, and as a result, ends up being one of the best game adaptations of all time.